Until the development of the slate industry during the 18th century, the surrounding areas consisted of agriculture, which was associated with the sea, namely fishing and transportation. Slate quarrying had existed for over 100 years by small groups of men who paid an annual fee of 20 shillings to the landowners for quarrying slate. The landowners, who previously regarded the sites of a mountain as only suitable for grazing sheep, realized its potential. From the end of the 18th century, and for the following 100 years, the slate industry of North Wales gradually became very important to the local economy. At its peak, the Dinorwig Quarry employed over 3,000 men. After 1890, the production of slate became less, as did the number of employees. The Dinorwig Quarry was one of the largest slate quarries in the world. Today, the scars of the terraces on the side of the Llynor mountain, along with the tips of slate waste, are a silent testimony to the industrialization of this part of the North Wales Valley. The quarry was once the major source of income for many surrounding communities, including Llanberis, Dinorwig, and as far away as the Isle of Anglesey. The slate quarrymen were a special breed of highly skilled workers who labored in the face of the prevailing elements, forever running the risk of death, ill health, and serious injury.
Yn eich rhysyn y chwarae, 1940, 1940, a mi oedd fel taniwr de, stwchar mewn ffordd de. A 5 diwrnod a hanner o waith, a 49 o chrogi, mae'n dydio heddiw 75 pence de, am 5 diwrnod a hanner de. O, fel ni'n gweithio rhan fwyaf, lot o dywyd o dwy glyb de, dwy glyb ag. O'ch chi'n trio mynd allan pen eira bod dim de. O, y rhew oedd y peth gweithio ni de. O'ch chi'n methu troi i'r pwynt a dim byd de. Wedi o'n i'n gweld cerad i fyny topiau de. Wedi pedesi nôl o'r armi, o'n i'n gweld cerad i fyny danio, banio falle de. Wedyn 3/4 awr, o'ch chi'n cael tal am 3/4 awr. Hanner coron adag yno de, 12.5 pence. Oedd o heddiw de. Am danio 3/4 awr de. Wyt ti wedi gweld yr pen Penrhyn yn Nanperis o hwnnw, ban oedd y rybys yn mynd i gyd de. Wedyn oedd ben o sledeidia, yn cael ei lawr i'r sedia. Wedyn oedd cael ei trin yn y sedia, a wedyn cael ei symud i lawr i'r doc i bach ddi. Wedyn oedd wageni 4 wagen ar bob truck cael ei lawr i Felinheli. Wedyn yn cael ei transportio o Felinheli dros y Holland, y Germany, falle de.
Wel, oedd ddim yn rhywle gweithio yn y shed ar ddwrnod glawog, oeddech chi dan do, ond pan symudus i weithio o'r shed i bonc Ben Garrett, ambell i ddwrnod, oedd hi ddim ffit i gifod allan, oedd hi'n bwrw gymaint, ond o rai chi drio cael llechi o'r bonc i lawr i'r shed i gadw'r hogiau fynd, ac yn aml iawn oedden ni dat y crwyn gorfod mynd allan a sacs ag ynoch chi lechi yn y shed, chach chi ddim pres ar ddiwan y mis, oedden ni'n cael fatha rhyw fath o cyfri mowr yn alw, bath eitha bonars ydi o. A wedyn, oedden ni'n trio cael y bonars yma bo mis. Oedden ni'n mynd i'r bonc ambell i fora yn y gia, claddu, chwilio am y ger, mwrthwr, y cyn, a beth bynnag y gowgis a lle, a gordd ar hys a bod yn yr eira. Nes oedd crampia mawr ar eich dilwch chi, a trio gafal yn y mwrthw ac yn y cyn. O weithio yna'r llithro i ffwr, o neipyn bach o rew wedi bod ar y goes o mwrthw. Oedd hi'n galad iawn yna, weithio tyllu'n y clogwyn, a eitha wynt mawr, a bawn lan yn disgyn o'r top ar yn penna ni. A trio llwytho wageni a beth felly, a rhirau i dy clytiau mi gyd. Oedd hi'n galad iawn yn dweud i wir.
The normal crew of quarrymen would be 2 rockmen, a splitter and a dresser, and occasionally 1 or 2 journeymen, young boys learning the craft. After the rock face had been blasted with gunpowder, one of the crew would work on the rock face with a crowbar, levering off the giant slabs loosened by the blast. Splitters would then split the rock to a manageable size with a hammer and chisel.
Ydy'r sgwar yn digon mawr I hogia ni. Y mae Saeson wedi methu torri calon hogia Cymru. Ydy'r sgwar yn digon mawr I hogia ni.
Oeddech chi fan o'n rhaff gyda chi amdanach. A di cael ei chymryd fel yn honno oedd y life support chi. Sa rhywbeth yn digwydd a honno mynd i'r gwylod. Ac oedd i'r rhewi toedd. Oeddech chi... Oedd yn le glydd fyna te. A gyda hwnnw'r rhewi ac yn beri bywyd te. Beri bywyd. O na, swn i, dwi'n meddwl, swn i byth wedi mynd i'r twll, i'r galeries. Cos o'n i, oedd yn nhad o fyna, o'n i'n gweithio ystad y ffwc I gilydd. Ond no way, swn i wedi mynd I hwnnw te. Ac oedd, a peth oedd chi, yna hi yr lefal o'n, ac oedd yr haf, just dros yr ochr fel ac oeddech chi'n balansio anni hewan, ac oeddech chi'n swingio eitha mwynci yn I chi. A ddinion o mwynci. Ac yn tynnu fo wir, o'r hai chi dynnu bethau oedd o'n rŵs, chodd o ddisgyn yna chi te. Oeddech chi ar ôl seithi, oeddech chi gorfod mynd rownd wedyn. A, fanna, gafon yna lot I lladd te. Tamad, lla bod chi'n wthi fa yma, ddim yn sylweddoli bod dyn wrth I benno yn mwy rhydd, ac eitha'n tynnu gwylod. O dwi'n gwybod am ddau, gafodd I lladd felly yna te. O welis i'r oedd mwynhau nhw te, dwi'n gwybod bod nhw wedi cael I lladd te.
Quarrymen working high on the galleries would load the slabs onto wagons, which were pulled by small steam engines on a narrow gauge line to the incline head. From there, the wagons are transported down the inclines in groups of four. Full wagons at the top and empty ones at the bottom.
Wel, oeddan ni'n gorfod naddu'r cerig, oeddan ni'n gorfod... Cerig oeddan ni'n galw, dim llechi, oeddan chi'n galw nhw'n llechi. Cerig oeddan chi'n galw nhw, oeddan ni'n gorfod naddu ac pleru a trin a llifio y cerig a'i hollti nhw, wrth gwrs. Naddu nhw wedyn ar ôl I hollti nhw'n da. Oedd o'n andros, oeddech chi yn gorfod gwachad graen y garag ac oeddech chi'n cael llifio nhw rwsyd. Rhaid I chi iwsio pric mesur I fesur eich pilar. Fedrach chi gael 2 glwt o 20 clwt oedd un darn ar gyfer I hollti. Os gael chi 2 ddarn am 20 ohono fo neu 2 ddarn am 24 modfedd de. Fedrach chi ddim llifio nhw rwsyd. Rhaid chi feddwl ac wneud eich sym allan 3 grot oedden ni'n gael am brynsis. Ac swllt a 10 oedden ni'n gael am 20 ydyn oeddech chi eisiau gwneud eich sym I fyny cyn penderfynu be oedd mesur y pilar I gael I lifio. Ac os oeddech chi'n lifio fo'r gollad, wrth gwrs o pawb yn mynd I golli, oedd yn y fargan. Wedyn, o'na dipyn o waith. Wel, sy'n ni'n dweud syms yn y peth hefyd ynda. O rhaid i ni'n neud o felly ar gyfer y gora oedden ni'n gael ar gyfer cyflog y mis.
The quarry ran on a bargain system. The bargain was a piece of rock about 6 meters square. Members of these bargain teams were trained to work on the galleries. A certain sum would be paid for good rock, a lower for the rubble. The wages of all members of the team depended on the results of this bargaining. Without any surprise, this system was open to all sorts of manipulation.
Calad, dachrau llyd. Wel, gosod chdi'n gwneud hyn a hyn o lychu. Oeddach chdi'n cael gwneud y gyflog, oedd y mistar yn talu i chdi. A beth bynnag oedd dros ben, oedd y mwrw oedden nhw'n galw tair llechan, a un oedden nhw'n cyfri hynny. Ac oeddach chdi gorfod gwneud tair yma i gael un te, ond oeddach chdi gwneud y cyflog i fyny i ddechrau y fanna. A unwaith oeddach chdi wedi gwneud beth bynnag o. Ond o drwg o. Os ti beth ti'n meddwl amdano fo rwan, oedd o'n gwneud sens te. Sa ti'n meddwl, oedd chdi'n cael pris gynnyn nhw ac yn dweud, reit, o hyn a hyn ydy'r pris. Os oeddach chdi'n gwneud fatha gormod mewn ffordd, ydy bod yn lwcus, ydy cael mis da, ydy bod yn sych, ac wedi cael llechu da sy'n ddod i lawr i'r shed i gael i trimio i fyny a bethau felly. Ac os oeddach chdi'n gwneud gormod, oedd yn tynnu dy bris di lawr. Y beth oedd y dda chwarael chi, oedd pawb helpan nhw'i gilydd. Te. Rwy'n dod yna, oedd yn eisiau gwneud, dydwch chi, rhyw bris, special bris dda ni wan te, a dim digon o lychu. A fydden nhw'n dod ata, cwylu mae hyn nhw'n had, cwyl, sgyn ti glwt gai, a clwt, dim clwt, pisin o lechan ydi hwnnw, tha bloc, de. A ta'n dweud, iawn, dwi wedi gorffan te. A fydda fo gyrra mynd mis nesaf at y llall te. Ond yna rhywbeth yn chwarae rhwng y dynion eu hunan chi. Ewan nhw, fel dwi wedi dweud, oedden nhw'n ddynion clyfar a ofnadwy. Bechod yna fysa yna fasiwn beth, cos pes i chwarael, mynd nes i am bod gen i 2 chwaer. A dyna ddim digon o bres yn dod i bethau te. Ond dwi'n dweud so i wedi mynd yn broffesor na dim byd. Ond dyna oedd y reswm bod fi yn gorfod mynd i helpu mam a nad te.
When the wagons were transported down from the inclines, they were then pulled to the bottom of the quarry and taken to the big cutting sheds. At the sheds, the slabs were sawn, split, and dressed into slates.
Wel, oedden ni'n gweithio mewn llwch difrifol yna, yn ewedig yn hwyrach yn ymrentisiad, lle fi rhaid mi fynd ar y graig i twll oedden ni'n alw, a gweithio i twll efo'n had. Ond cyn hynny, o'n i'n gweithio wrth gwrs yn y shed, lle oedd yna lwch llifio, a llwch hollti, a llwch naddu. Ac oedd y llwch fel pwdwr o dan eich traed chi, fedra chi ddim osgoio. o rhaid i chi anadlu, da gynnon ni masg, do'n neb yn cael masg. O hwnnw mewn air, oedden nhw'n wybod amdano fo. Wedyn, felly, oedd yr cyflwr gwaith yn ddifrifol i sbio nôl yno fo heddiw. Os ych chi'n cael gwneud heddiw yma. Ac oedden ni'n mewn shed sink drwy'r gaea, ac oedden ni'n dechrau, wel, hanner awr 7 yn y bora, tan 5 yn os. Ac oedd y trydan yn isal iawn yna, dyna fawr o drydan yna, ond digon i droi'r shed oedd o. A doedd yna ddim gres o gwbl, dim gres. Ac oedden ni'n gweithio yna ar dywydd mwyaf difrifol welach i rioed yn y gaea. Ac oedden ni fyny hannar i fyny mynydd yr lidir, ydych chi'n gweld, yn ganol y garat yn gweithio. Ac oedd y stormydd yn ddifrifol yna. Ond oedden ni'n gorfod cario ymlaen. Ac oedd hi'n waith ar rei oedd yn gweithio ar y graig. Oedden nhw wrth gwrs yn gorfod rhoi gorau efo'r hew ac yn cymryd egwyl, ond gyda oedd yr hew yn dadmar, oedd y graig yn symud, ydyn oedd yna berig ofnadwy. I chi gael rhwb, oedden ni'n alw fo ffôl, os ych chi'n alw fo'n Saesneg wrth gwrs. Ydyn oedd hynny'n digwydd pan oedd y graig yn symud efo'r hew yn chwyddo de. Ac fel oedd yr hew yn dadmar, oedd y graig yn dieddol o fod yn ansicr ac yn ansefydlog, oedd hi'n berig.
Ar ddiwedd mis yn aml iawn, o'ch chi gael hynna hyn o lechi yn y shed. A be oedd yn digwydd o hogia twll yn mynd i lawr i helpu'r hogia yn y shed i drio. Os rhag oeddech chi medru, lla bod y fargan gosau chi, bod yr hogia hynny wedi cael y target, oedd yn data chi i helpu chi i gael y target. O pawb yn helpu gilydd, ond am cymnigan o gwbl na de. Dim o gwbl, oedd y le difyr iawn, oedd y le digon afiach i weithio efo llwch a bethau felly, a'r oerni, a'r gwaith cerdded, a dim dŵr y poeth i folchi na dim byd felly. O, dwi'n cofio adag arall y fyd yn Byngsa Braich yn y cynnu. O'na yn smawr ar y stores yna. Ac oedd y dŵr yn slon dod o tap, a methu dall mewn matar, a pen agorwyd yr yrn, a sbio i fewn i, yna chwtra mawr di mynd i fewn i, ac oedd wedi cael ei berwi, a darn o honno oedd wedi mynd i'r tap, dyna pam o'r dŵr yn mynd dod allan ne.
The cabin was a place where all the quarrymen would come together to have their lunch and discuss the issues of the day. The men would always have a chairman who would try to resolve any disagreements that arose within the quarry. His word would be the final word. The chairmen were good public speakers and often of high standing as deacons and local councillors. To be elected cabin chair was a privilege and would raise their status in the community.
O ia, wedi mi gael y swydd wan o hel y pres y caban ma. Fys i swydd arall o hel undab chwarelwr y Gogledd Cymru hwn. A fi a Brynliol am Berison yn hel y pres yr undab ma. Ac oedden ni'n mynd â'n hwy i Ganarfon, i Secontium Teras unwaith y mis i bancio. I fanno oedden ni'n mynd â'n hwy. A wedyn swydd i mi wedyn, fys i'n arwain lot o'n oswythiau'r llawan yn y 60au a cyngherddas dyfodau beth felly. O gys i swydd fel llywydd caban. Ac wrth wrando ar y hen ogia wedi bod yn llywyddio ymlaen i, dwi'n credu na felly ddoes i ymlaen i fynd ar lwyddfan a gwynebu cynnig chwyddo a medru siarad dipyn bach yn gyhoeddus adag hynny. Oedd o'n brofiad ofnadwy o coleg y chwaral maen nhw, coleg y lychan las ac oedd hi'n berffaith wir, ond na ddynion galluog ofnadwy nhw. Efo bob dim yn ysgrifennu penillion, oedden nhw deud hanesion, medru deud storis da. Oedden nhw ddynion ddiwylledig ofnadwy de.
When the slate was cut and dressed, they were loaded onto wagons which were taken to Gilvachthi, which was the heart of the Dinorwig Quarry. From there, they were transported on larger steam engines on a 7-mile line between Gilvachthi and Penrhyn near Port Dinorwig. When the train arrived at Penscoins, the wagons of slate were transported down an incline to the dry dock in Port Dinorwig. From here, the slates were shipped to other parts of the country and as far away as Ireland and Europe. The Second World War further affected the slate industry as the demand for building slates fell considerably, and many of the quarrymen enlisted in the army. The North Wales slate industry never really returned to the level of productivity it had enjoyed at the turn of the century. In August 1969, the Dinorwig Quarry closed without warning, and the 350 workforce of men who left for their annual holidays were not aware that they would never again return to the quarry.
A way of life for a whole community has ended with the closure of the Dinorwig slate quarries. Llanberis, Penrhyn, Dinorwig, Penrhyn and other villages who have sent their men and boys to work in Dinorwig for over 2.5 centuries have over the years watched its labour force dwindle from 3,000 men to 300. Now there are none. The last of the orders that have trickled through from contractors in this country are being dispatched. But these will remain here at Dinorwig. These piles of crates neatly stacked up, ready for a cancelled journey to France, are mute witnesses of why the quarry failed. Dinorwig was geared to production for the French market after the majority of this country had rejected its product as too expensive. Up to March, the quarry was exporting 40% of its production to France. When de Gaulle went, all orders were cancelled, but a promise was given that in September, France would take double the amount she had been taking. On August the 7th came another message. Well, perhaps not double the amount, but certainly just as much as before. A few days later, the franc was devalued, and the curt message came through: no more slates. And so these crates, crammed with the small red slates that France likes, but this country doesn't, remains at the disposal of the receiver. So does the quarry's rolling stock, brought down from the top of the quarry for the eyes of potential buyers. The houses that quarry officials live in, but owned by the quarry, are also to be sold. The tenants given notice to quit. The quay at Port Dinorwig, from where so many slates were exported to France, still piled up with the now useless French slates, will also have to be sold, if it hasn't been sold already. And the men whose fathers, grandfathers and great-grandfathers worked at Dinorwig Quarry, what happens to them? I put this question to the former manager of the Penrhyn Slate Quarry, opened by Dinorwig in 1961, Mr. Owen Wilson.
Well, what's to be left for them in this area? When you think that 50% of the men of the labour force, their ages are over 50, and 75% of them, I would think, well over the 40s.
And of course they've been in slate quarrying all their lives.
All their lives, their fathers and grandfathers before them.
How did the men take it?
Well, it was, of course, in this locality, there are a lot of rumours being going around, but it did come as a shock, the ultimate closure. There was always a hope that somebody would take over and keep the quarry going.
What will happen to the quarry now, Mr. Wilson, in your opinion?
Well, unless some consortium or some group of companies take it over, I think that the only thing that's left is slow stagnation.
Do you think it'd be worth taking over?
Well, I wouldn't be prepared to answer that. Yeah.
Dinorwig placed too much faith in the vagaries of French politics. But the real tragedy is that in the final analysis, it was not only the franc that ended the life of this 250-year-old quarry, but we ourselves contributed to the ending of a Welsh way of life by steadfastly refusing to buy its products, thus consigning the largest open slate quarry in the world to the pages of the Welsh history books.
Today, the old quarry remains virtually unchanged, with heavy machinery and men's possessions still where they had left them. The remaining industrial memorabilia will remain for many years as a reminder of what the quarry workers had to endure for almost 2 centuries.
what you've got, 'cause you'll never be the same. No, you'll never be the same. You'll be sorry. But don't be. You keep turning and I'll keep walking away. Overworked and underpaid, the spirit of the underclass will never be the same.